All right, good morning, economic students. Hello, how's everybody doing? I hope everybody had a great weekend. This is the weekly instructional video. We are into week 5. We're almost at the finish line. Next week will be the final week of this course. Just kind of want to go over a few things that we may want to focus on this week and some terms that we may want to directly pay attention to. Now, this week, in regards to materials. Okay, we're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about the relationship of money. We're going to talk about interest rates. We're going to talk about government policies. And when you really think about it, with the pandemic that's going on worldwide right now with coronavirus, you have to ask yourself over the last 3.5 to 4 months, how has that impacted money itself? How has that impacted borrowing, for example? Let's say if someone wants to apply for a mortgage or a car loan or whatever it may be, what interest rate are they preferably getting locked in? There's always a federal interest rate that's set out over, that's pretty much set up when it comes to borrowing or when it comes to financing products, like I said, for example, cars, homes, things of of that particular nature. So this week, I want to kind of talk about the creation of money and how money is created. We know that the value of the dollar is different from one country compared to the next. Uh, our value of the dollar is much different if we head over to Europe or we head over to Asia or whatever it may be. Their value of the dollar would be different and interpreted if it were to be translated over here. So, some things that we want to think about regarding money. Okay, we know that it's important. We know that it's valuable. We know that we need to use it in exchange for something. Goods and services is one thing in particular regarding money. We can't purchase food, our necessities, and our products. Okay, we can't take care of our other needs as well too. Okay, without having that medium of exchange. So I'm just going to get directly to the point here that money is identified as being something that serves as a medium of exchange. Okay, what is the medium of exchange? That would be anything that's widely accepted as a means of payment. Okay, we have to look at the barter system. The barter system would be identified as a direct exchange of goods or other goods. Whereas with the unit of account, okay, that's consistent, meaning that it's measuring the value of things. And then you have the store of value, okay, which is an item that holds value or significant value over time. So it either appreciates with value or it depreciates with value. And then the units, when you look at quantity measured, just think about that with the units of account. Quantity of things, okay, that are probably distributed, okay, to different retailers, okay, for sale or for profit, okay. And then the barter system, would be, for example, if I have something to give, you have something to give back to me. And so that's the exchanging of goods. All right. And so you can really take the business to business relationship and really say that the barter system directly applies to that, where one business has a good or service to give to another business, and then they have a good or service to give back in return. Okay. And it's for the purpose of functionality. And so we talk about banks, and then we even kind of talk about how through accounting measures, we have a balance sheet. What is that? It's showing assets, it's showing liabilities, it's showing net worth. There's also assets. Okay, we know what assets are, we know what liabilities are, and we also know what net worth is. And then we also know what the reserve is. Okay, that's where you actually hold the bank. It's in vaults, and that's considered to be in alignment with the Federal Reserve. We also have the reserve banking system. Okay, they happen to hold reserves with value that's less than the sum of claims that's outstanding on some of the reserves. And so begin to think about reserves, begin to think about ratio as you do your readings, as you engage in your discussion post. Have not looked directly at the discussion post again as a reminder, but it should be centered around the material. deposits, assets, withdrawals, and for example, what does the bank need to maintain? What is their reserve ratio? And then also, what is the FDIC? Even though that's not in your readings, the FDIC, but how much do they happen to insure? And for every bank account, the FDIC happens to insure up to 250,000 in deposit or for balance within each account. And then, as a matter of fact, deposit insurance, the FDIC is mentioned. I stand corrected, kind of scrolling down here on my materials. My apologies for being in a little rush this morning. All right, but this is how banks, they come in pretty much and they audit. All right, and they ensure, okay, that banks are operating safely, um, not making investments that are too risky, or also maintaining a minimal level of net worth as a fraction of the total assets. So that's the whole boundaries when we look at the creation of money, and how money is created, how is it exchanged, and also what are the policies and guidelines in terms of deposits. Moving on here, okay, financial markets, okay. Keep in mind that the United States happens to be an open market. I had mentioned that before, okay. All right, so when we look at the financial market here in the United States, it happens to be an open market, okay, which means that there may be um, some areas that's not regulatory by the government. All right, but however, though, it actually does coexist, okay, in terms of how we define things with the law of capitalism. And we know that we are a capitalist country when it comes to our economy here with the United States. So we talk about bonds. Think about bonds and think about interest rates. Think about maturity dates. More information that we can actually reflect on. Think about the trade weighted exchange rate and what that is. All right, and that happens to be the index of exchange rates. Also, think about the demand, the supply of equilibrium in the money market. Think about also the motives for holding money. Think about the transactions. Think about the precautionary demand. Think about the speculative demand for money. All right, so in so many words, okay, people hold to pay for goods and services they anticipate buying, and that's what's called a transaction. Very common term. Precautionary term would be the money people hold for contingencies, okay? In so many words, okay? Okay, reserved money that's set aside. Precautionary money. Most of us may call it a cushion, okay, just to kind of break it down in a more simpler term. That would be precautionary demand. And then speculative, okay, is held in response to the concern that, let's say, for example, bond prices and prices of other financial assets may happen to change. So the stock market, for example, if you think about it, is speculative. All right. What is going to happen, okay, with the stock shares with the company over the course of maybe the next couple of weeks? Okay, you're speculating. Do I sell my stock? Do I pull it? Or do I wait to see what happens with the trends of the stock market with my stock shares that I may happen to have within that preferred company? And then also government and fiscal policies. Now, the one thing about government is we have to understand that there's always a contrast to world governments. Okay, policies are different. There has to be a social awareness and responsibility, I think, from one country to begin to understand the economy or the nature of the economy for another country before engaging in any type of business transactions. And I believe that is relative when it comes to companies when they happen to engage within global business. So begin to think about government policies, begin to think about how they differ, okay, when we engage in global business. Think about here, for example, what are transfer payments? Also think about, you know, how the economy here is how it's balanced out. When we balance the federal budget, for example, what's considered to be a surplus, what's considered to be a deficit, okay, and what is the goal, okay? What would be the balanced budget in so many words? Think about our national debt, okay, and especially in the time of pandemic, what we're in, you have to think about the national debt and where it would happen to be. And then think about also aggregate estimated demand and supplies and how that happens to impact fiscal policies as well. And then also we have to look at business taxes and also income taxes that a company may happen to pay out. So just some terms, definitions, a few things that I just wanted to kind of, put to your attention that you can reflect on it and focus on it throughout the course of this week. All right. Just a reminder, with our discussion post, we are in week number 5. Everybody make it a priority to have your discussion post done by Monday night. Okay, we are nearing the end of the class. Have your discussion post done by tonight, okay, for week number 5. And then also your paper portion as well as your video review. That will be due at the end of the week, okay, by Sunday. I know that I still have Saturday loaded in terms of the language in Moodle, but take until Sunday to complete your paper portion for the week, as well as your video review for week number 5. As always, I will begin to grade material starting later on tonight and throughout the course of this week. For those of you, all right, and this doesn't apply to a specific person. If you happen to be behind, okay, please make the effort to reach out to me this week, okay, so that we can come up with some sort of contingency plan regarding getting current if you happen to be behind in assignments for the course. Okay, all right, everybody. Okay, this is your week 5 instructional video. I like the progress overall that the class has been making with this course. Once again, all right, we are almost at the home stretch. Next week will be the final week of the course. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Shoot me an email, just as always, regarding phone calls as well as text messages. Okay, the cutoff time would be from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. if you want to reach me by phone call or by text message. Also, I'm going to be looking at the week 4 videos, and I think I need to mention this. Everybody, I know it was kind of a tough one. That's been one of the assignments and assessments that's been set up for this class. But pretty much the outcome of that week 4 video presentation that you all did, okay, is that you are determining the inflation of prices for movie tickets. And you're comparing that with the year 2019. And you were to take the 15 to 20 top grossing movies of all time and interpret that using that in your inflation calculator. I'm just going to say something, okay? There's really no right way or wrong way, in my opinion, okay, when it comes to actual numbers that you're supposed to come up with. But just really giving a thorough explanation in your presentation, and you'll be right on mark in terms of, completing that video. So I will be definitely reviewing those over the next day or so. Okay, everybody, I'm here for your needs, any questions or concerns, and you have a blessed week. Talk to you later.